Mom, from now on, the cooking and laundry are all on you. The greasy dishcloth landed right in my lap, leaving a dark stain on my favorite beige cardigan. I had been sitting peacefully in the sunroom, sipping my Earl Grey tea, enjoying the very first morning of my retirement. After 38 years as a school, I finally thought I had earned the right to rest. Before we begin, a huge thank you to all of you. We've officially hit 500 subscribers. It's a small milestone but a big deal for us. And now our eyes are set on the 1,000 subscribers goal. To help us get there, please hit the like button, subscribe so you never miss a story, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from and how you're doing. Your support truly encourages us and keeps this channel going. Now, let's jump into the story. I slowly looked up to see my daughter-in-law Jessica, standing in the living room with her arms crossed and a tight smile on her face. Her hair was pulled into a stiff ponytail, and her eyes were cold. "You're retired now," she said sharply. "You're home all day doing nothing. You can't just live here for free." My hands trembled as I placed my teacup on the table. Just then, my son Daniel stepped out of the bedroom, dressed neatly in his work suit. For a moment, relief washed over me. Surely, he would stop this. "Jess, that's not how you talk to my mom," he said. But before my heart could settle, he added, "Mom, you know things are expensive. Your Social Security check isn't much, and we're under pressure. Helping with the house is only fair, right?" I stared at him, struggling to recognize the boy I had raised. The same child I stayed up with for nights when he had a fever. The same son I put through college. The same man I gave my entire life savings to so he could buy this house. "I understand," I said quietly. Jessica smiled in satisfaction and grabbed her purse. As they left, Daniel turned back and said, "Oh, and don't forget to mop the floors. Jessica likes them spotless." The door shut. Silence filled the house. I stood alone, surrounded by dirty dishes and greasy As I washed the plates, my tears fell into the sinks, air lamp burning, unseen. That was the moment I realized something had changed forever, and I didn't know yet that this humiliation was only the beginning. But what my son and daughter-in-law didn't know was that I had a secret one that would soon turn their world upside down. After finishing the dishes, I did not mop the floor. Instead, I walked back to the small bedroom they had given me, the room barely big enough for a single bed and a dresser. It didn't feel like my home. It felt like borrowed space, like I was a guest who had overstayed her welcome. I knelt down and pulled out an old suitcase from under the bed. It was scratched and faded, the kind you can't throw away because it holds memories. My late husband Arthur and I had bought it years ago on a trip to Florida. He'd been gone for 5 years now. If he could see me like this, I knew his heart would break. I began packing slowly. A few sweaters, 2 pairs of shoes, my photo albums, some well-loved books, Arthur's old wristwatch, the one thing of real value I still wore every day. I didn't own much anymore. Everything I had fit into that single suitcase. Then I reached under my pillow and pulled out a plain envelope. Inside was cash money I had quietly saved from my pension checks over the past several months. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to give me time, enough to breathe, enough to leave. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long moment, listening to the quiet house. For years, I had tiptoed around this place, careful not to upset Jessica, careful not to burden my son. And still, I had ended up treated like an unpaid maid. I took a pen and wrote a short note. "I'm going to find my own worth. Don't worry about me." I placed the note on the dining table, right where they couldn't miss it. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I walked out of the house without looking back. At the entrance of the neighborhood, I flagged down a taxi. "Where to, ma'am?" the driver asked cheerfully. The question froze me. Where was I supposed to go? After Arthur died, I sold our home and moved in with my son. I had spent the last 2 years believing that house was my only option. Now, Standing there with one suitcase, I realized how completely alone I was. "Just take me downtown," I finally said. As the car drove off, familiar places passed by the window. The school where I had taught for decades. The market I visited every weekend. The cafe Arthur loved. This city held my entire life. And yet, for the first time, I felt like a stranger in it. I checked into a small hotel downtown. The room was simple but clean. I set my suitcase down, sat by the window, and exhaled. Then, from a hidden compartment in my suitcase, I pulled out a thick manila envelope. And as I opened it, a calm smile slowly formed on my face. Because inside that envelope was the truth my son never knew and the reason. I would never beg anyone ever again. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, the manila envelope resting on my lap like it carried a heartbeat of its own. With slow, careful hands, I opened it. Inside were documents neatly organized, carefully protected, property papers, bank statements, investment records, stock certificates. Each page represented a choice I had made quietly, years ago, when my husband Arthur was still alive. I remembered his voice so clearly. "Eleanor," he had said, squeezing my hand during one of his hospital stays. "Never put all your eggs in one basket. People change. Even the ones you love." At the time, I thought he was just worried because he was sick. Daniel was a good son back then, or so I believed. I never imagined I would need protection from my own child. But Arthur insisted. Using his life insurance money, I had bought a modest 2-bedroom condo in the Southgate area 5 years ago. I never told Daniel or Jessica. I rented it out quietly, letting a property manager handle everything. I also invested part of the money into stable mutual funds that paid steady monthly returns. On top of that, I owned a small commercial unit leased to a convenience store on the edge of town. Altogether, it was more than enough for me to live comfortably without depending on anyone. I closed the folder and leaned back against the pillows. For years, I had chosen to live simply at my son's house, believing family mattered more than money. I thought being close to him was worth any sacrifice. Now I understood how wrong I had been. My phone rang, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was Daniel. "Mom," his voice sounded tense. "Where did you go? Why is the house spotless? What did that note mean?" I picked up the phone slowly. "I'm staying somewhere else for a few days. You and Jessica will need to manage on your own." There was a pause. Then irritation crept into his voice. "Mom, don't be dramatic. Jessica thinks you're throwing a tantrum. Just come back. You don't have to do all the housework anymore." I almost laughed. Not concern. Not guilt. Just annoyance. "I'm not coming back right now," I said calmly, and ended the call. I turned my phone off. That night, I ate dinner alone in the hotel restaurant. For the first time in years, no one complained about the food. No one rushed me. I even ordered dessert tiramisu and savored every bite. As I lay in the hotel bed later, the room quiet and peaceful, I felt something unexpected. Relief. For the first time since Arthur passed, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I wasn't trying to please anyone. I slept deeply, without guilt, without fear. When morning came, sunlight filled the room, and with it came a decision I could no longer avoid. The next day, I would step into a home my son didn't even know existed, and everything would begin to change. Morning light streamed through the hotel curtains as I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. For a brief moment, I forgot where I was. Then I remembered Di had left, and instead of fear, I felt calm. My phone was filled with missed calls and messages from Daniel. "Mom, stop this. Jessica is furious. Where are you?" I didn't reply. Instead, I made a phone call of my own. "Brenda," I said when she answered, "I'm ready to see the condo." Brenda had been my husband's trusted colleague for years and later became one of the few friends who truly checked on me after Arthur passed. She didn't ask unnecessary questions. Perfect timing, she said. The tenants are moving out early. You can see it today. Half an hour later, I met her outside her office. She hugged me tightly, like she already knew how much I needed it. Then we drove to South. The condo complex was quiet, clean, and surrounded by trees. Nothing flashy, just peaceful. Brenda unlocked the door to Unit 502 and stepped aside. The moment I walked in, my breath caught. Sunlight poured through large windows, filling the space with warmth. The floors were spotless, the walls a soft beige. The living room opened onto a small balcony overlooking a garden. The kitchen was fully equipped. The second bedroom had been set up as an office. "This is mine," I whispered. Brenda smiled. "Every inch of it. For 5 years, strangers had lived here while I slept in a cramped room in my son's house, afraid to take up space." The irony stung, but it also set me free. "The rent's been deposited every month," Brenda said, handing me a folder. "After expenses, you've been clearing around $1,500 monthly." I didn't even open it. I trusted her. "I'm moving in today," I said. "So soon?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm done waiting for apologies that will never come." Brenda offered to call a moving company, but I shook my head. "I have one suitcase. That's all I need." As we drove back to the hotel, my phone rang again. "Daniel." "Mom, where are you?" he demanded. "I'm coming to get you." "That won't be necessary," I said evenly. "I'm staying with a friend." "What friend?" he snapped. "You don't even have money to—" I ended the call. Back at the condo, I unpacked my suitcase slowly, placing Arthur's photo on the nightstand. As I stood in the living room, surrounded by silence and sunlight, I realized something important. This wasn't just a new home. It was my reclaiming of myself. But my son was about to discover I wasn't the helpless woman he thought, and he wouldn't take it well. I had just finished unpacking the last of my clothes when my phone buzzed again. It was Daniel. I ignored it. A few minutes later, a message appeared. "Mom, Jessica is pregnant." My hands froze. "Pregnant?" I sat down slowly on the couch, reading the words again. The timing felt too perfect, too convenient. Just yesterday morning, Jessica had been shouting at me, throwing a dirty dishcloth, demanding I scrub floors. If she were truly pregnant, would she have been acting like that? Another message came in, this time with a blurry photo attached. "Here's the doctor's report. It's real. Don't you want to be there for your grandchild?" I stared at the image. It looked official enough. And still, something felt wrong. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Brenda. "Can you check something for me?" I asked quietly. She didn't hesitate. "Give me an hour." That hour felt longer than the past 2 days combined. I walked around my condo, touching the walls, the furniture, grounding myself in what was real. I refused to be pulled back by guilt or fear again. When Brenda finally arrived, she wasn't smiling. "She went to a clinic yesterday," Brenda said, placing her bag down. "But it wasn't for a pregnancy. It was for an irregular cycle. She's not pregnant." The room felt suddenly colder. So they were lying, again. Not just to manipulate me, but to trap me. My phone buzzed nonstop after that. Calls, messages, voicemails. Daniel's tone shifted from annoyed to desperate. "Mom, please come home. Jessica knows she was wrong. She's willing to apologize." Then Jessica herself called. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling. "I was wrong. I'm young and stupid. Please don't hold it against me. We need you." Need, not love, not respect. Need. "Is the pregnancy real?" I asked calmly. "Yes," she said quickly. Too quickly. That was all I needed to hear. "I need time to think," I said, and ended the call. That afternoon, Brenda insisted on walking me to a nearby cafe. As we sat there, sipping coffee, my phone vibrated again. A message from an unknown number. "Mrs. Vance, this is Kevin from Daniel's office. He didn't come to work today. He's been looking for you all over town." I let out a slow breath. "He's panicking," Brenda said softly. "Yes," I replied, "because he's losing control." I looked around the cafe, people laughing, living their lives, free. For the first time, I didn't feel old or abandoned. I felt dangerous. Because once a woman stops being afraid, there's nothing left to threaten her with. And the next morning, I would finally face my son and hear the truth he never planned to tell me. I woke up early the next morning, my sleep light but steady. There was a calm inside me now. The kind that comes after you stop running from reality. I made myself a cup of tea and sat on the balcony, watching the sun rise over the garden below. At exactly 9:30 a.m., I went downstairs. Daniel was already there. He stood near the entrance of the building, pacing back and forth, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. He looked exhausted, wrinkled shirt, messy hair, dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me, relief flashed across his face, quickly replaced by shock as he looked up at the building behind me. "Mom, you live here?" he asked. "Yes," I said calmly. "This is my home." His eyes widened. "Since when?" "This place is expensive." "How are you paying rent?" "I'm not renting," I replied. "I bought this condo 5 years ago." The color drained from his face. "What? That's impossible. You never had that kind of money." "I did," I said quietly. "Your father made sure of it." He laughed nervously. "Dad didn't leave that much. I handled all the paperwork. I know everything." I looked him straight in the eyes. "Then you know about the trust fund?" Silence. Daniel's jaw tightened. "What trust fund?" "The one your father set up for me," I said. $500,000. With a monthly payout. His eyes flickered away from mine. "Daniel," I continued, my voice steady but cold, "why was that money being deposited into an account under your control?" His breathing quickened. "Mom, listen, I can explain." "Explain how you took that money for 5 years. I interrupted. "While telling me my pension was small, while letting me believe I was a burden." He grabbed my hand. "It wasn't like that. Jessica said we should invest it for our future. I meant to pay it back." "Where is it now?" I asked. He hesitated. "Too long. It's tied up," he said quietly. "I can't get it right away." I pulled my hand back. "You stole from me," I said. "From your own mother." His voice cracked. "I'm your son. Would you really ruin my life over money?" I felt something inside me finally break, not into pieces, but open. "You already ruined something," I said softly. "You ruined my trust. I'm giving you 1 week," I continued. "Return the money, or I'll let the law handle it." His face hardened. "You wouldn't dare." I stepped back toward the building. "Try me." As I walked away, I heard him call my name, but for the first time. I didn't turn around. What I didn't know was that my son had gone even further, and the next discovery would change everything forever. I spent the rest of the day in my condo, my mind racing. Daniel's betrayal had cut deep. But there was more, something he hadn't yet revealed. Brenda came over, bringing her usual calm presence. "Eleanor," she said firmly, setting down a stack of documents, "we need to check the trust fund account. If what you think is true, the withdrawals are still going on." I nodded, heart pounding. Together, we went to the bank. After presenting the papers and identification, the manager pulled up the account history. Every month, on the 15th, exactly $1,800 had been withdrawn. And the signature? Daniel Vance. My own son. I felt dizzy. 5 years of my own money quietly taken from me while I struggled to make ends meet. Every dinner I cooked, every chore I completed. He had manipulated me into believing I was merely helping the family. Brenda squeezed my hand. "We need a lawyer. Immediately." By the afternoon, we were in Mr. Peterson's office. He was precise and calm, as always. After reviewing the evidence, he said, "Mrs. Vance, your son has committed not only theft but forgery. This is serious. You can take legal action." I let out a shaky breath. I want him to return the money, everything, and if he refuses, I'll see him in court. Mr. Peterson nodded. "We can file a complaint today, but first formal notice." I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Justice had been dormant for years, but now it was awakening. The next morning, the courthouse was cold, echoing with authority. I sat beside Brenda and Mr. Peterson, hands folded, waiting. Would Daniel show up? I barely had time to wonder before the doors swung open. Daniel stormed in, suit neat, face tense. Jessica trailed behind, her posture careful, fake concern in her eyes. "Mom," Daniel said, attempting a confident smile. "Why are we doing this here? Let's talk at home." I didn't respond. His charm would not work here. Not anymore. Mr. Peterson stepped forward, placing a copy of the complaint before him. "Mr. Vance, you are being sued for misappropriating trust fund assets. This includes forgery and unauthorized withdrawals." Daniel's face went pale. Jessica gasped. I looked at them both steadily. "You thought I was helpless? That I would stay silent? That I would be your unpaid maid forever? You were wrong." Daniel's voice trembled. "Mom, it wasn't just me." "Jessica?" I shook my head. "No excuses. You chose this. You have 1 week to return what you took, or legal action continues. No lies, no hiding." Jessica's tears were real, but Daniel's face remained twisted in a mix of fear and anger. As we left the courthouse, I felt a lightness I hadn't known in years. The first steps toward reclaiming my life had been taken, and yet I knew the battle was not over. Because even with the law on my side, the real test was coming. My son and his allies still had secrets that could turn everything upside down. The days that followed were tense. Daniel and Jessica were frantic, their every move shadowed by the knowledge that I now controlled my own life and their misdeeds were exposed. Brenda stayed close, helping me navigate the legal letters, bank transactions, and negotiations. Every time I glanced at the trust fund documents, I felt a quiet satisfaction. I had fought for my dignity, and I would not lose it again. Then came the final twist. A call from Mr. Peterson, the lawyer. "Mrs. Vance," he said, voice steady, "there's something you need to know. Arthur's trust had clauses beyond the original $500,000. Daniel altered the documents years ago, forging signatures and claiming more than his share. Legally, you can reclaim everything. And he could face serious consequences for forgery." I sat back, letting the words sink in. 5 years of manipulation, of pretending I had nothing, of trying to bend me into a subservient role could finally be undone. That evening, Daniel came to my condo. He looked defeated, his suit rumpled, eyes filled with panic and regret. "Mom," he said quietly, I know I've been wrong. Please, can we just—" I held up my hand. "Daniel, for years, I stayed silent. I tried to protect you, to love you as your mother. But love doesn't mean allowing yourself to be stolen from, or lied to, or manipulated. The law will handle the money. You need to face the consequences of your choices." He swallowed hard, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I hope this teaches you honesty," I said firmly. "Because forgiveness doesn't erase betrayal." He left, and for the first time, the condo felt completely mine. I walked through the rooms, touching the windows, the walls, the furniture. Every corner echoed freedom, independence, and the right to live my life on my own terms. The next morning, Brenda brought groceries and news. "Eleanor," she said, "I spoke with the community college. They're ready for you to start your calligraphy classes next week. You'll be teaching and mentoring exactly what you've always loved." I smiled, a genuine smile. For the first time in years, I felt excitement for the future. The days that followed were filled with small joys. Early morning tea on the balcony, quiet afternoons reading, calligraphy lessons with eager students. Each moment reminded me of something important. Life does not end at 62. It begins again, for those brave enough to reclaim it. Daniel and Jessica remained part of my life only as lessons, reminders of betrayal. Yes, but also of my strength. I had learned to stand firm, to protect myself, and to cherish the life I had quietly built. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.